already back again. My apologies for the delay. Been other things going on, and I'm kind of doing this on the fly. But as I said before, we'll have a look at something a little different, and we're looking at basically existentialism. Really, now, as you'll have realised by now, it's not just about the news, about what's going on around the world as such. It's all about you, me, us. There's a lot going on in the world. So where can you start, realistically speaking? But, as is with all things, I've taken a little bit longer in doing this because, as you know as well as I do, I try not to overly simplify things or even overly make them complex or make them overly complex. So the idea is I like to put a little bit of time and effort in, actually make sure that I've got a clear frame of understanding. All the detailing is there, but at the same token is draw out all of the baseline facts. Primarily, it's you get the information that you're looking for, but it's not too much where it seems like you're being told what to do. At the end of the day, it's a matter of choice, isn't it? You either do it or you don't. What can you say? So yeah, I've got all my notes. In the grand scheme of things, we'll see what we can do to try and follow them, or otherwise I'll just wing it. Right, so like I said, as you'll have realised, I try and actually translate what's going on around you, even within you, and make it a bit more palatable, or rather just a bit more tangible, something for you to actually work with. This in itself forms part of the training videos. However, I think it's safe to say at least 2 suggestions now have come through. Say, why don't you do something a little bit more tangible and put it on the shelves? Now, my reasoning for not doing it so far, one is I never thought of it. I was just quite happy to do the digital stuff. But 2, it's making sure that everything's right, and is there enough content there for people? Is it too much, as we were saying about simplification and complexities? And I'm thinking to myself, do you know something? I think I have enough information to actually provide you with something. So yes, by the time we've finished here, I will create something for you to pick up, read through, and then put it on the shelf and pick it up whenever you want to. Instead of having to sit there watching videos and working through it all, at least you'll be able to do it in your own time, in your own pace, in your own home. Yep. Right, existentialism is the header. It is a big subject, it's a big factor within many things. It's been around for many years. There's been many focuses, there's been many angles, many perspectives surrounding it, many postulations through the academic realms. So there's lots and lots of information. So while I'm not going to say this is definitive or fact, and this is the only one that you should be referring to, this is probably the best one, whereas it'll be more simplified than anything you'll find out there. However, that being said, you can go out utilising even just your normal libraries, and you will find enough information out there to put a handle on any given situation that you want to look at through this particular lens. Right? Now, bearing in mind the particular lens itself, as in saying existentialism, is more of a, I say a perspective, it's more of a kind of like understanding. It's a way of actually coming to understand yourself and relating yourself with the outside environment. And when I say outside environment, I mean outside from you. Yeah. And then likewise in return. Yeah? So it's a reciprocal thing. Yeah. I'm going to try and keep it short. This is just introduction. Yeah. Right. Within all of this, there's also the element of absurdities. Yeah. Why would it happen to somebody like me if I have not done anything to deserve it? Yeah. Well, and that's absurdities. You do good and you get crap back. It's like, how absurd is that? Yeah. So this is not about good or bad within itself. This is about the dividing line between the two to help you come to understand why the good and bad actually happens. Yeah. Like I say, it's not going to be too much detail. I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible, but without, again, oversimplifying things. Yeah. You've got to also remember is within this, there's always going to be grades of utility in it. Now, this is negative connotations that it is, for as many negative connotations it has, utility that is, there is probably equal, if not more, positive ones. Utility in the terms of usefulness shouldn't actually be deemed too much in the negative sense, because that is why people ask the question, isn't it? That ultimate question, what is the meaning? Yeah? I say meaning of life because in some ways that can be deemed as being rather ambiguous. Meaning of life, well, your life, my life, their life, our life, the cats, the dogs, the horse, life as a whole, the earth, the planets, the sun, the solar system, galaxy, the universe. Yeah, it's there. So let's start from there. It is there. Yeah. How you deal with that is another thing. Yeah. So we kind of break this down. We have got approximately 3 elements. 1, 2, and 3. One of which is quite a longish one, but again, we're going to try and work our way through it. Existentialism, or human life. Yeah? Philosophy that explores life itself as the state known as human life. Right? They're now based on particular studies emerging from as far back as the days of Confucius, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, Al-Farabi, and many other people. Through to the 1840s, through to the 1940s, when it was becoming a little bit more acceptable. And then in today's day, it is a highly sought after, or rather speculated, question in itself. More so because people are beginning to wake up. When I say wake up, it's basically level of awareness. It's no longer just simply brick and mortar that surrounds us. There are people shifting and moving around. Yeah? Your interaction with them. Yeah, so a level of awareness. How things work, how to do things, how not to do things. Yeah? So it's becoming more acceptable to start exploring what is known as a human existence and its origins. Key features start to emerge, confirming a lot of what folk have been postulating or theorizing all along. Yeah, I'm scripting. Right, now to start this, we can break individuals as well as groups into 2 categories. Yeah. The categories, and no, we're not saying this definitive, because what you've got to remember is both people and circumstances change. So taking that into consideration, because things change, you'll switch and change from the two categories. Right, remember, we're keeping this simplified, but not too simple. And these are reactive and proactive. Right? So, meaning that you have to wait until something happens and then you react to it. Or on the other hand, you are the one that makes things happen. Yeah, so reactive, proactive. I say this as the general characteristics of life as evidence throughout, like for instance in wars and whatnot, you know. So somebody's been proactive in the start of the war, somebody's been reactive, so they're defending themselves. So you've got offense and defense. But again, there's always a root cause to everything, and there is. And when you go into the details enough, you will always find that root cause. Whether people would like you to find a root cause or not, well, that's something different, isn't it? But there's always a root cause, no matter which way you look at this. Right? Right, so again, wars, learning curves. There's learning curves within all aspects, such as social development, economic and technological progress, politics, science, you know, all sorts of stuff. Right? Right, the characteristics that actually place people into these, or should I say, the characteristics of existentialism that people are working on are basically, and I've kind of like reordered these into, shall we say, a scaling, on an order in a scale. Right, so you've basically got disorientation, you've got confusion, you've got dread, and you've got attitude. Right? So when you take all of those and you start to pull them into one place, into one person, and disorientation being, like, for instance, I don't know, you've just come out of school and you're looking around for the economy, right? You're trying to get a grip of what's going on, and not everything's as clear as you'd like it to be, so it's going to create a sense of confusion. Now, if nobody's responding, so you're being proactive, but nobody's being reactive, in other words, responding to your confusion, naturally speaking, it's going to create an element of dread. From that, what you're going to be looking at is a form of attitude, right? And the attitude in itself, again, can work on its own scale, right from being dismissive, right through to being pessimistic and hating everything that crosses your path. Yeah? That's on the negative side. Yeah? Now, those being highlighted, and that they can be broken down further, these are suitable enough for keeping this short. So generally speaking, these as characteristics will automatically place people under the reactionary side of the table. Yeah? So they've been a little on the proactive side, but because of the way things have worked, they've started to react to the environment and have formed a particular attitude. And they've either moved away from society, or cultural groups, or groups in general, or they will force themselves forward in one capacity or another. Yeah? What defines the difference between the two categories, or rather, if I actually ask you a question, what do you think actually defines the difference between the two categories? Yeah? Well, we've already said one's reactive, one's proactive. We've given you the disorientation, the confusion, dread, attitude. Yeah? What do you think is going to define the difference between the two? Yeah? Whether it's for yourself, or whether it's for somebody else, or whether it's for a larger group of people, depending on how big you draw your circle, yeah? What do you think is going to be defining the difference? Right? Right, we spoke about this in the 3-hour video, and what we've been working on since the start. Some people say starts, well, 2009, effectively. There are two aspects. One is the divider, and the other will determine longevity and stability and sustainability. Right, the divider in itself is actually attitude, because even though when, excuse the expression, shit happens, because it happens to be shit, right? When the going gets tough, the tough get going. The idea is about maintaining an actual particular attitude in order to actually see, receive, hear, learn, keep moving forward. But if you allow the external environment to actually keep shunting you, yeah, and you don't actually shunt back, and I don't mean fight back as in becoming aggressive, I mean shunt back, you'll always end up being put in a position, your attitude will change to a point where is it like, back off. No, I won't. But if your attitude is something of, bring it on, I'll take more from you. How much have you actually got? Bring it on. Yeah. Then you'll find that life in itself will begin to respond to that, and then it's shift and change. And what you're actually doing, as I was saying before in video before last, is that you're now actually beginning to get the ball moving in your direction. Attitude. Right. Longevity or sustainability is authenticity. Right, so there's two aspects. Authenticity, being genuine, being yourself, maintaining that no matter the actual variation of environments. Right, I'll give you a prime example for myself. No matter how shit my day's been, unless I've had a cold, of course, and there's something, naturally speaking, it's not something I'll ever put in front of a camera. Yeah. The idea is it doesn't matter how shit my day's been. The same attitude I've got now is pretty much the same attitude as I've got when shit's happening. Yeah. Granted, there's a slight variation where I shunt back, right? But generally speaking, even right from 2009, I've perhaps come out of my shell a bit more. But ultimately, ask any psychologist if you wish who have been watching this, or even medium, besides that shunting back, you'll find, as I've been opening up a little bit more, my attitude's generally been the same. You tread on my toes, then I'm going to tread back. I may be soft on appearance and very easy to talk to and everything, but you push too hard, you'll find a razor's edge sat nicely beneath the surface. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to get on with it. So generally speaking, whenever I'm here or out there beyond this camera, I'm pretty much the same person. Yeah. Laid back, reserved, so on and so on and so on and so forth. Yeah. Using myself as the guinea pig, so as not to pick at anybody. But those are your two defining factors. And then you obviously have longevity and sustainability of that. So again, yeah, we could go deep. I'm not a psychologist or anything like that. If you need to know more about that, there's always some written work out there. Or if you know somebody who's up there with that, you know, have a chat with them. They'll more than happily actually help you out. Yeah. Right, so as it stands, some of you youngsters, if there's any youngsters on there, yeah, what are you on about? That's fine. What you're going to remember is this is actually targeted towards adults. Those who have got a bit more experience behind them and have wanting one or two more answers. Yeah. But then on saying that, the one thing I do know is there are people out there that are rather inquisitive, much like myself when I was younger. Yeah. So basically wanting to learn more. So this is ultimately, as I said from the beginning, about the depth of all of this. This is an andragogical exercise. You say that one, you've had a couple. Andragogical. It's an andragogy exercise. In other words, it's self-led. You give me bits of information, you do the rest. Yeah? Why? Well, because I trust that you will both understand and react reasonably and to form a conclusion or otherwise find a suitable outcome to work in line with the developing world, be it ethical, and or logical. Yeah. So it can be both or one or the other. It's entirely up to you. Yeah. But the upshot of it all is, whilst it is suitable for you, it has to be suitable for you. It also has to be congruent or otherwise relative and works nicely with everybody else. It's not about shaping you in the way that everybody else wants you to be, or even the way I want you to be. Not in the slightest. It's about you. Yeah. How do you want to be presented to the world? Yeah. Okay, that being said, it can be agreed that one is the other and that the other can determine the other. Yeah, bit of a mind blank for you. Authenticity can and does govern attitude, right? If you're not authentic, right, your attitude will change. You will see a marked difference. This is where they say that you have to have lived with somebody for long enough to really see, their true colours. Yeah? To see somebody or work with somebody long enough to see their true colours come through. That is authenticity. When a person settles into an environment, so let's say, for instance, I don't know, be it a relationship or an interview or something like that. Some people who are in fact authentic, you will see that from the beginning, right? They'll present themselves in a different way, and regardless of the given situation, they'll remain to be that way pretty much throughout. Might be some variations, but again, sometimes things can be quite a little bit more stressful than what the individual's used to, so therefore they have to adjust slightly. So there's always, no matter which way you look at this, no matter how authentic you think you are, there's always a margin of error. Yeah, within that personality. Right, but at the same token, that's somebody who is authentic. Somebody who isn't, that margin of error gets exceeded. What happens is they get so far in, and when it becomes comfortable, it changes. And it moves into a different direction. And it seems like their attitudes change completely. And it does. They seem like a completely different person. It just goes to show that they weren't authentic. All they were doing was making a front, created a front for it, or poker face even. Yeah? And time has revealed their true nature. Yeah? And the depth of their true nature. And the attitude, their real attitude. So then authenticity comes back around because you then realise their true nature. Yeah? Whether that individual can change or not, again, is within the margin of error, their ability to act and react, and the receptivity towards external input. Yeah? Especially if it's affecting the outside world. Yeah? Right, when you're looking at authenticity, when you're looking at existentialism, what you're actually looking at is a healthy level, and what's a healthy level of self-love, or self-respect and esteem, self-awareness, humility or efficacy, which comes within self-awareness and self-respect, understanding right and wrong, the receptiveness towards changes, within the local environment or broader environment, your environment, keeping an open mind, perspective, it is your perspective, or whether it is your perspective or not, and keeping a clear mind. When I say healthy levels of, what it is about not going to extremes. It's like I used an example before about non-smokers. Right? I don't mean non-smokers per se, I mean non-smokers are those who have just given up. You can tell a non-smoker from a mile off because they talk emphatically about giving up smoking. Right? The worse than actual non-smokers, those who have never smoked. Yeah. Because what you're doing is you're actually listening to the converted. Yeah, so what they do to reinforce their choice is drive it forward. Yeah, and ensure people know that that's what they've done. So the self-love part is about being able to balance that. The healthy level is being able to say, right, yeah, I gave up smoking. I think it's a good thing. Let's maybe perhaps try it. Yeah. If they ask you more, yeah, it says, leave it. They need to preach nothing. If somebody wants to do something, they will do it. If it seems worthwhile to them, they'll do it. Yeah, they'll take it on board. So, a healthy level. Yeah, self-love is the same thing with yourself. It's like personal grooming. Yeah. Do you spend an hour in front of the mirror? If you do, is it a little bit obsessive? Do you only spend 10 minutes in front of the mirror? Yeah. Do you think you need to pay a bit more attention to your personal appearance? Or any time at all? Yeah? So, whilst those are not actual facts, the middle line would be, well, spend 10-15 minutes in the bathroom. Make sure everything's alright. You're presenting yourself in a manner that you're comfortable with, you're happy with. Yeah? But it's not there all day as if that reflection in the mirror is you or is somebody else. Yeah? It's how far you go with something is what's meant by a healthy level. It's how far you go with it. Right, so again, all of this, you can revert to your academic journals within unis or universities or anything like that, or you can even find it in public facilities such as libraries or even Wikipedia and online dictionaries and things like that. Then you can either confirm or debunk my assertions here. Yep. So that's existentialism. However, this is also broken down further to reflect essence. Existentialism fundamentally is about the meaning of life. Right? As we were saying from the beginning, the meaning of life. Yeah? Is it 42? Ooh. Right? By which time, 42, in some circles, what they say is by the time you reach 42, you should have kind of settled slightly. So your sporadic kind of like, sporadic kind of out there attitude kind of thing should have settled down by then. In other words, you're either not too aggressive or too energetic, and you just kind of settled, and it's a nice kind of like, it's not monotone. It's probably the best way of putting it. You've still got plenty of personality about you. You're out there. You're kind of like getting things done and whatnot, but your attitude's balanced. Your psychology, in the terms of how you handle stress and things like that, is balanced. Yeah, you're calm, cool, chill, deep. But that's generally what they mean. I'll give you another example for those who are a little bit, I'm not sure about that. Within the realms of conspiracy, 0 to 36, add it all up, becomes 666. As I pointed out previously, that's what's known as the period of deviling. And there it is. Not actually that bad. So you've got the period of deviling, right? The period of deviling is basically the period of time in which you're challenging not only yourself or learning about yourself, but you're challenging the world around you, which is also part of existentialism. Yeah, you're challenging the world around you to find out where you fit, who the hierarchy structures are, how the hierarchy structure works. Yeah, whether you've got it in you to go further than what you're going, what your plans are, how do people act and react to their plans. From 0 to 36 is all about challenge. It's all about learning. And the only way you learn is by touchy-feely of the environment around you. Yeah, whether it be verbally, whether it be physically, or any other way, metaphysically even. Yeah? Who knows? Whatever it is, it's usually congruent or otherwise subject to your plans, what you've planned for yourself over the years. Yeah? 42 comes into play because we take the prime number within that and actually say 6. So 6 is a year of settling. Yeah? It's not what 6 actually means. It's just that period of time that it takes a person to settle. And I'm not talking about reaching the peak and, it's all downhill after there. And no, it's quite literally, whereas you've done all that stuff and it's like, generally got an idea. Yeah? You don't have to have an absolute idea. You've got a general idea of what's going on around you, what you want to do, and how to assert yourself. Yeah. So then that 6 years then finds a plateau. Yeah. For your personality, there's no longer need to kind of like, I don't need to fight and prove myself, and so on and so on and so forth, or academics. Bearing in mind, it doesn't stop at 42. Yeah, life still continues. Life's lessons and learning still continues there and after, which again is where your level of authenticity and attitude comes in. See how it's all piecing itself together now, right? From all the last videos to now. So that's that, right? So you've got the whole existentialism there. It's life in itself, it's meaning. The meaning of life in itself is determined by you, right? Granted, there is the further question, what is the meaning of life? What's the same as the last question? Like I said, it all depends on how large you draw your circles. Right? Self, family, friends, society, the planet. So it depends on the size of circles that you draw around yourself. From there, right, again keeping this simple, from there we've got essence, right? It's the essence of you. And it's not fall over. Essence in itself is separate from existence. They've tried to put this across to people, and some people are not quite getting it. That's fine. It shouldn't be held against you, but again, at the same token, be assured that every time you hear it, this is either confirmation or reinforcement or otherwise telling you it is. Yeah? Two separate things. To be alive is one thing, and in that notion, what you do or how you conduct your time will in turn lead to either uncovering or enables you the ability to develop your essence. Yeah? And the essence is who you are. Yeah? And what you become. And what you want to become. What you become and what you want to become naturally are two different things. And the unfortunate truth is we see that a lot in the world around us. We start off with a whole load of plans. Remember we was talking about in the beginning about being shunted. The external environment tests us by shunting us, and if you don't shunt back, what happens is it shifts your life path off elsewhere. So you end up becoming or achieving other things that weren't originally on your plan. Yeah? Whether it's what you wanted to do or not. Yeah? That in itself will then formulate your attitude, your behavior, how you feel to other people when they come into your presence. Yeah? Sorry, it's getting a bit comfortable. So the upshot of it all is that it's your presence. Yeah? It's prime example, when I turned up in 2000, I think it was 2009, I'm sure it was. I turned up at a political party's meeting. I'm not going to say which one. I turned up at a political party's meeting. I think it was 2000 or 2010, somewhere around there. And I thought to myself, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to test the waters. See what this joining the political party is all about. By the time we'd actually finished and I was listening to the conversation, people's behaviours and whatnot, and identifying what people had got planned in their own minds based on what they were doing in that environment, having to tell people or inform or suggest that the job works like this, and so on. So there was this kind of like underlying conversation going on, and it was related to this and politics. By the time we'd actually finished, one of the individuals would turn around and says, yeah, he's got presence. He's got a very strong personality. Yeah? That's how I Yeah, it's a sense of feeling. It's the difference between. I'll give a recent example, but I can't exactly. I don't want to pinpoint anything because I don't want to alienate anybody, right? But when you're talking about essence, when you're talking about the feel of something beyond or within the existence itself, it's the difference between you walk into a shop and there are two people stood there. Right? We'll work on the male side of things, but it's applicable to females. Right? There's two men stood in front of you, and you choose the first person to go to. Sense of feeling, and you ask them, "Are you the manager?" And the guy next to him goes, "No, I'm the manager." Why do you think that is? Somebody, yeah. You've got to remember, it's like electricity again. Essence is about putting your finger on an electrical wire, right, and then putting it on a dial, and then just gradually turning it up and to see how far how much you can actually tolerate. But the question, or the actual aspect of that, is feeling the difference from 0 to, so let's say, 12 volts. Yeah, and you pick up on that, right? Essence is about the outward energy, right, as well as, who you are. Well, that's who you are and what you want to become. Your goals and ambitions build that up. Yeah, your passion, your ambition, and so on and so forth. Yeah, that's the basic element with that. That's the fine line with it. You can build on it, and I would suggest you do so if you want to learn more about it. Right. The understanding with that, to close that little bit element down, is a statement for you. I profess to be nothing more than I am, or that I will become in time. How does that feel? Say it to yourself. I profess to be nothing more than I am, or that I will become in time. Feels a little weird, doesn't it? Say it again. I profess to be nothing more than I am, or that I will become in time. Does it mean? You're living in the now, right? That's your existence. In essence, is future planning. It is. It's what you've already worked out, whether you're ahead of the curve or not. It's what you've worked out or what you're working out. I profess to be nothing more than I am. So we arc back to the actual self-awareness, the humility side of things. Yeah, or that I will become in time. So it's basically self-respect, esteem, efficacy, self-awareness. Yeah. Otherwise, be in the now, but plan for the future, or you'll end up planning to fail. Yeah. Whichever variation you like, that is generally an understood thing. It's a sales spiel. That last one's a sales spiel. Metaphysically speaking, or metaphorically speaking, or otherwise existentially speaking, I profess to be nothing more than I am, or that I will become in time. Right? But if you're doing that, you have to remember that you're not giving out false indications that, well, I am this. Well, no, you're not. This might be what you want to become, but it's not who you are. So that's that element, right? So essence is a separate element of existentialism, as it's the element that not only supports but develops your existence. Yeah? Creates more value, a sense of purpose, if you will. Yeah. So the meaning of your life. Meaning of life in itself, surprisingly enough, is much the same thing, but on a much larger scale. However, we start to factor other people into your equation, as we were saying a moment ago. Again, this is where we explore paradoxical behaviors, as we were mentioning in other videos. Yeah. Without such, the world indeed would place a person in a state of confusion or loss of identity among the many other things. Yeah. So that's why people look for a sense of meaning, because otherwise, without it, you create a sense of confusion. Yeah, and then people start to dread wanting to do these things, and then a form of attitude, whether it be introverted, extroverted, or kind of like happy medium, that's when it begins to develop. But as it's been said, some of the most interesting people have never really known what they wanted to do, or even how to do it. What defines the difference between many people is their, as we were saying in other videos, the difference being is that question. How do you do it? You know? Not being frightened of getting out there and ask. So what you're actually doing is moving from the reactionary side of things and moving into the proactionary side of things. Yeah? So essence, and more importantly, comes from commitment and follow through of an array but not exhaustive factors in life. Yeah. So understanding and accepting life is about development, about growth. Yeah. Without that sense of direction, or without that general understanding, life would in turn stagnate. It would, and then, well, who knows? Right? The admittance that you are fundamentally responsible for the choices you make. Right? You need to plan or have a plan of action that is conducive in supporting your growth without negatively impacting or removing another's ability to do the same. Yeah? So it has to be conducive. Yeah? It has to be reciprocal. Yeah? Whilst being yourselves, understanding and appreciate what other people are doing. Yeah? Therefore, ultimately, the same. Right? Within these plans, start out with attainable goals and ones that you actually want to achieve and why they are important to you. Because if you don't, you'll only leave room for you to question yourself and in turn never negatively impact your own efforts, only giving you reason to not continue setting goals. You start hearing it spoken back to you, it makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it? Weird. Focus on the desired outcome. Obviously, don't lose yourself in it, but focus on the outcome. As we were saying before, within that little statement, I profess to be nothing more than I am, or that I will become in time. Right? Focus on the outcome, or that I will become in time, but maintain good, steady feet on the present. Right? I profess to be nothing more than I am. Sometimes you don't feel too good about the way you are, not all the way you want to be, or the way things are. But ultimately, it's up to you to change it. Seriously. It may seem difficult at first, it's easier said than done, especially for those who are looking at this and realising, well, hey, one or two kicks to the pants, of course it will. But think of it as, I don't know, a test or an exam or something. Question is, can you overcome it? Do you want to overcome it? Yeah? If you don't think you can, start off with, do you want to overcome it? You've had a beat and batter around and whatnot, and I've just now placed you in a safe place. Nothing in this entire planet, or even beyond it, can affect it. Do you want to change it? Of course you do. Yeah. Having confidence in yourself, the likelihood is you will have made achievements in the past. Of course you will have done. Accept credit for them. Yeah? They're yours. Own them. Do you want to change your circumstances? Of course you do. Question is now, how are you going to do it? The only way you're going to find that out, in the terms of everything that we've spoken about so far, is learning about the environment, isn't it? Become more aware of what is actually going on. Then all of a sudden them absurdities become relative. They become a little bit, they make a bit more sense. Oh shit. You fucker. Excuse the language, my apologies. I know it's not professional. But still, it begins to make sense. Try something little. Try something small. Change something. Yeah. Hit back. What does that mean? Hit back violently or anything like that? I mean, move from reactive to being proactive. Utilize that reactionary position and decide to yourself, that's it. Right, alright. I'm going to start doing this. And then start planning the road ahead, should I say. Yep, so focus on the desired outcome, but don't lose track of now. Right? A picture can hold 1,000 words and much more meaning if it actually means something to you. Yeah? But again, while aiming high, still be somewhat realistic about it. Yeah? So, that one is for that one. So I'll put that one aside now. So, like I said, I've had to work this lot out and keep it detailing and where we're at according to the time, 45 minutes. Not too bad. Given the fact that we could go on for a long time about this, but we're not going to. So, we're now on second one. As I was saying before, you're in a safe room and you're awakening, right? Awakening elements of existence, right? That's where we move back to this page. See why now it's better if I just put this all out so you can read through it yourself as well. Right. Now you've taken into account existentialism and essence, and the fact that it works better to understand in this manner. Right. It's also about in economic senses. It's also about developing human capital. Unfortunately, whilst all this is andragogical, it's self-led, it requires external influence to then develop the existence of the individual, or rather, in this case, the essence of the individual. So we go backwards to develop the essence of the individual, to then assist with their development, or rather their existence within your organization. Organization. Yeah. Right, now, in the sense of it all, there are 4 points when it comes down to awakening. Right? You've got knowledge development. Yeah, so there's acquisition and understanding, and then the application of knowledge. Yeah. So there's all these 3 phases. I'll repeat it again for you. Knowledge development, or knowledge in itself, is about the acquisition of knowledge. It's about understanding what you've acquired and then learning to actually apply it. Yeah. So even within that one phase, that one element, there's 3 subsections to it. Right. There's the environmental awareness. Right. So you've got the general composition and the links and movements of the plant and the nature and the creature. So what you've got is everything from human movement. Right. You've got then, in general terms of speaking, economic movement. Then the impacts that economic movements have on the rest of the planet. Yeah, be it nature in the terms of green and brown, or animals. Yeah. 3 then is your emotional intelligence. Right, other people. That's basically other people. This also ties into that one. Existentialism, or otherwise human capital, right? Otherwise empathy, which we cover in a few moments. So we work on emotional intelligence in an outline fashion in a few moments, and it has, again, in itself, 3 parts to it. It does. And then on top of that, depending on the type of individual you are, either comes first or it's the last test on the actual scale, and that is trust. Trust is usually determined by other people's deeds, and that is, or even your own deeds. So you can't place all the onus on the external environment. Question is, can people trust you? Like, for instance, this. I've been doing this for 10 years. I've learned a lot about you. You've learned a lot about me. I would like to think that my trust in you is now thereabouts equal to that of your trust in me. So we're building this up together. I've not given you any reason not to trust me. Every deal I've made within the political and economic arena, I've maintained. I've not reneged on it. And I've kept moving forward. I've maintained at least once a month presence, and so on and so on and so forth. And in turn, you give that information back. So it's backwards and forwards thing, the trust thing, based on our deeds, our actions. Beyond that, in the terms of awakening, you've also got, so putting them 4 to a side for a moment, you've got other elements, right? You've got the psychological development. I say it's psychological development because it also works with the emotional intelligence side of things. Right? So, like, for instance, from childbirth to parenthood. Yeah? So you've got that scale there. So existence, parenthood, and responsibility. So you've got your 3 there, 3 stages there. Both men and women. You've got puberty, parenthood, menopause. Yeah? Granted, women's are much more pronounced, and men's are more kind of like silent. Yeah? Why? Because it's been from day dot, it's basically been expected from us. Yeah? We learn to, shall we say, hold them emotions in and deal with them. We learn to deal with them emotions without making any major issues about it. Up until today's day, of course, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's what men should do. Modern day man is basically somebody who isn't frightened of sharing their emotions. It's somebody who is quite happy to say, look, I don't like what you're doing. It's affecting me. You're a pillock or whatever. Point is that modern man is basically being a bit more open, right? Especially if they're unable to balance their own thoughts out. So there's no disrespect meant, but over the years, women have been more pronounced and men have been more silent about things. Yeah. But again, still, them 3 elements, whereas it's primarily recognizing you women because of how the pains that you have to go through in order, of them stages that them pains bring, men psychologically go through them. Why do you think? Puberty is generally the same. Puberty is about, shall we say, testosterone, right? Women, it's more about self-awareness. So men, it's the outward world. Women, it's more the inward world. Parenthood is more about, or rather, the giving birth and so on and so forth. It's a woman's tolerance and so on and so forth. I don't know the best words to actually use without actually making myself out to be derogatory or otherwise know it all or anything like that. It's preparing the psychology for the things to come, shall we say. Right? The physical tests, the trials and tribulations that you're about to endure. Right? So that pain threshold actually or rather the pushing of that pain threshold actually, shall we say, toughens that internal psychology, right? So it's being able to resist, being able to maintain, sustain, and being able to drive forward even in the heat of things. With men, it's much in the same way, And their emotional intelligence will determine whether they're actually changing or being receptive to their environment or to that particular change in the environment. Yeah. Men who are rather receptive to that environment and shouldn't feel shamed about it are those who actually feel the shift based on the screaming, the blood, and the various will just go. And it's kind of like, some people look down on them. No, I didn't. I was there, ready and eager, saying, where's my lad, where's my daughter? Yeah. The idea is just, right, welcome to the world. You know? And all the rest that goes with it. I was right there. And obviously, somehow, in some ways, I prepared myself for it. So the idea is that men go through the same thing, but they do it in a bit more of a controlled fashion. Yeah. And then menopause. Menopause for women is probably an awful time. I've seen and heard about it many times over. And yeah, but as men go through it as well. It just, again, it's not so pronounced. Yeah, there is the same with physically as with women. There's the middle-age spread. There's a desire to want to do other things, because as that testosterone begins to slope off a bit, you're trying to find ways of picking yourself back up again. And it's, some people go to extremes, other people just quietly get along with it and progressively build themselves back up again. Yeah. Then there's everything else in between. So ultimately speaking, both men and women are the same. Just one's more pronounced than the other. And I guess that's why, where you can witness in today's day, with all this effort that's been put in over the last 10 years, that we're balancing the playing field. Women are no better than men, but men are no better than women. At the end of the day, each side has something unique and something good and negative to contribute to all of this. Again, I will go into the rest of the detail in written form. You can also find that in other areas of the training videos and that. But ultimately speaking, that is the element of existence or existentialism. It's quite the mouthful, that one. Right? But then awakening, authenticity. So moving on. Knowledge-based growth. As we've already made aware, we've got a path in the terms of childhood to parenthood. Knowledge-based growth is also determined by a similar path. Learning about yourself, learning about friend, family, and the relationship each person has to another, and what persons do, and that. And then basically your friends, how they fit in to that environment. Do they fill in the blanks? Do they add on top of it? And then to work colleagues. Yeah. And then on top of that, you got your world in its parts and or in its whole. Yeah. When looking at the awakening, you actually then begin to learn the fine line between it all, which is basically the network, right? Whether it be human to human, or business to business, or even political party to political party in different parts. Yeah, human to animal. Animal is representative for both nature and beast. Nature being brown and green and blue, you know, rainbows, or beasts themselves, and animal to human. So basically, it's the relationship, understanding, and nurturing. That's how the animal to human human networking and development works. Is the relationship that you develop, how you understand each other, and then how you nurture that. Yeah. I think there's a lot to this, isn't there? When you think about it, when you actually break this down, when somebody says, "Oh, it's all about existentialism," it's really easy. It's it's about human life. What is the meaning of life? It's like, what? Do you really want me to talk about this? But there's a lot to it, and you can learn a lot from it, and how to be able to actually work out a plan for yourself. Yeah, it just requires a bit of courage and a bit of commitment, and it does, and the right type of attitude. Yeah. Already, we're just about to strike an hour. Late. We're keeping it to the point, and we've got one left to do. one left to do, and then the closing page. Effectively, the last part of existentialism and essence, we go back to our stages and point 2, where we actually identified knowledge development, environmental awareness, emotional intelligence, and trust. Right. All 4 of those are applicable to this, right? But yet, emotional intelligence is in fact the key element. Yeah. So all of them are applicable, but emotional intelligence is the key element. Experience is another factor. Experience is the part that props it all up and keeps it, it kind of reinforces it all. But we have 3 elements, 3 understandings, with a 4th part being, shall we say, an evolutionary thing. Yeah. Well, the 3rd and the 4th part is evolutionary, so it's kind of split down the middle. And there it is. Right, and what we've got is sympathy, empathy, telepathy, and telekinesis. Right? I'm not finished. Right? The upshot of it all is telepathy and telekinesis are very moot subjects. Right? Telepathy is more proven nowadays. Telekinesis is something that's a little on the questionable side of things, but is still there and can be developed within human individual. Okay? Yeah. We're not going to go too far into that particular one, and I think telepathy, you already know what that means. Yeah, but we've done a little bit on it anyway. Yeah. Bear with me for a moment. We'll take the middle ground with these examples. Well, what else did you expect? You know? Reason for that is, and so you can see the kind of like the scales either side. Now, for the most part, the middle ground within it is, how can I best put it, is having a reasonably open mind, a very placid attitude, but a receptive attitude towards the shift and change of an environment. Yeah? It's assuming that most people's emotional intelligence is thereabouts of understanding what's actually going on around them. And yeah, 90% of the time, most people do. So, from the middle ground, the 3 main ones, like I was saying, is sympathy, empathy, telepathy. Starting from the sympathy, what you're looking at is, if we was to put in a bit of a category based on emotional intelligence, what you're looking at is somebody or a way of relating to people in an emotionally apt kind of way. Yeah. So it's knowing and understanding, but not having experienced that situation or a given situation. Otherwise, it can be simple as a basic connection. Yeah. And so it's, you can see and understand a person's pain. Yeah. It can be rather one-sided for both individuals. I mean, it can be. In some cases, this is due to the level of understanding. A person's level of personal comfort, as we were saying before, within that one, is a person's self-awareness and self-esteem and basically self-confidence. Yeah. But acceptance that someone else is hurting in one capacity or another. Like, for instance, if somebody's lost a person, a child, an adult, or whatever, so they're grieving, childbirth, even through to broken bones, or even a divorce. Yeah. So not everybody is going to have gone through either of those. That's not to say that it's a bad thing, but what it means is because they haven't actually experienced either of those, it's more kind of like saying, well, yeah, I appreciate what you're going through. I've never experienced it myself. There's a bit of imagination going on there. I can see, I could imagine how you would actually feel. But that's the thing. I can only imagine. Yeah? So, emotionally apt. You're allowing your imagination to fill in the blanks. Yeah? But that's the part of it. The allowance. Right? That's what makes it emotionally apt, is because you're prepared to go through the motions or go through the emotions based on trying to relate that situation to maybe events that you may have had yourself. Yeah? Empathy can even be defined as being an empath. This time, though, if we put a gradient on it, what you're looking at is being emotionally connected. Again, it's knowing and understanding, but this time you may have actually experienced what that other person is experiencing, or the situation. Like I said before, we use the little outline like death, childbirth, broken bones, divorce, and so on and so forth. Yeah, or loss of job in some cases. Loads of little things. It could be. But because of that experience, you're able to better connect or relate to somebody's story or pain. But again, the ultimate part of that is the acceptance and the utilization of your imagination to fill in the blanks. Because whilst you may have experienced what they've experienced, each two people are different. So their experience is going to be somewhat different. So again, it's the imagination thing, isn't it? The imagination thing is key within it, so far as you'll have noticed, because it helps you with planning and everything. It does. This time it's more about essence, being receptive. So we're going just that little bit deeper now. The person's body language. Yeah? It's about seeing the whole person and their feeling, or feeling for that person and their energy and their emotion. Yeah? Why is it you see when one female cries, I use women, it's not derogatory, it's meant because it's more representative, it's more widely known. Why is it when you see one woman cry, you hear the other one saying, oh, Canada, you're making me cry, or they just cry? If it's tears of joy in some ways, or some sense of confusion, the awakening to a certain situation, so, oh, no, don't cry, you're going to make me cry. No, that type of thing. It's because women are actually better at it because they're more emotionally connected. Yeah, their imagination, their emotional intelligence is just a little bit higher. That's not to say men can't do it. Of course they can. Yeah, emotional intelligence and imagination and so on and so forth varies from person to person, right? But as the lifespan of a person unravels, will determine how much they have or how much they invest into that. Yeah. So you've got sympathy, which is emotionally apt. You've got people who are emotionally redundant, or as one film expressed it, emotional range of a teaspoon. That made me chuckle. That was the Harry Potter one, by the way. It was. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Order of the Phoenix, I think. But still, again, emotional range of a teaspoon through to being emotionally apt. As soon as you reach the top part of being apt, then you become emotionally connected, which is where empathy comes in. Now, the top end of emotional empathy is becoming an empath. Yeah, the bottom end of that is emotionally apt. So can you see the scale there? The third one comes in is telepathy. Now, as you can see, as we've been working on the little curve, there's no images, right, because these ones can be quite tricky to graph in. But again, the investment in all of this information will come afterwards, and we'll put it all together and it'll all be laid out for you. The third one is telepathy. This one, when you reach the actual top scale of the emotionally connected, to explain the people who are able to read environments and people's thoughts and things like that. Because bearing in mind, there's another thing to bear in mind, when you reach the top end of the emotional connected side of things, you can read emotions. You don't necessarily read minds, you read emotions, which is, like I said before, is about reading body language. It's about being able to feel their energy levels and so on and so forth. And the body language, facial expressions and energy all coupled together gives you an idea through your learning curve, through understanding emotions and so on and so forth. It allows you to be able to piece together what it is they're generally thinking. Yeah? So you're emotionally connected. Now, beyond that, to take the scale just a little bit higher, because of telepathy, now you're emotionally invested. Yeah? So you've got emotionally active, emotionally connected, emotionally invested. Yeah? Emotionally invested. Now it's an actual collective development of both attributes, and that's both sympathy and empathy. What you're actually doing now is grading or actually traveling along that scale. So from the point of contact through to a point where if a person's unable to convey their message, right, you're beginning to get an image of what they're thinking, as in the terms of what they're feeling, and you're piecing it together emotions. What you're doing is investing more energy into actually reading into what they're saying. It's like the equivalent of spending, two people have spent, male or female, equal, same, whatever, right? They've spent X amount of years together, and they're able to finish off each other's sentences. I'm not saying it's exactly telepathy. What I'm saying is it's likened to it. It runs in a similar parallel. What you're actually doing there is based on sympathy, based on empathy. What you're actually doing is you're beginning to understand now and actually see what another person's actually thinking. Yeah, you're able to envision what they're actually doing and piece that whole movement of things together. Some people say that you're able to read cards. I say, for instance, what have I got on these cards here? Oh, there's an X or a line or whatever. Some people call that telepathy, being able to read what's on the cards. Some of it's not necessarily reading what's on the cards. In a metaphysical sense, it's about that person has got a card in their hand and they're saying what is on that card. You don't necessarily what's on the card, but the person holding it does. So you actually say, well, it's the X, or it's 0, or it's a circle, or it's a line. How do you know that? Well, you told me. Yeah? It's not about seeing behind the card or seeing what's on the card. Some of it might be. You might be picking up a vibration. You're actually seeing the flat side of the back of the card. And because that card has one particular grain to it and one particular colour to it, yeah, it's like an eyesight test. When you're looking at it, you can pick up colours and colour depths and whatnot, and you'll be able to see whether it's a 3 or a number or a letter or something like that coming through. With a card, with a blank card, white, it's naturally got its own sense of vibration. And if it's got like a black number on it and it's a 4, I'm maybe picking up on that vibration. There's the fact that there is a different depth to that card, because that has actually been printed onto the card and it's not part of the card. Yeah. Again, it's one of two ways. It can be defined in two ways. Vibration on the card, so you're actually beginning to feel what's on that, imprinted on that card by understanding the nature of the material of that card, or you're just simply reading what's there, also what's actually in somebody else's mind. They're sat there then, not gonna get this. It's a cross. Come on, get this. It's a cross. So there's that there. And how that generally works is it's all emotional. But when you actually start to explore it, like I was giving you the example before, the essence of a person, when you walk into a room, who do you feel the presence first? There's one manager in the room, and you go to, well, you're the manager. No. Yeah. So it's that essence. It's the difference between, it's like an alpha between males and an omega between females. Yeah. Now that in itself, if we was to quantify that, or even qualitatively speaking, you could, again, we can use electricity as, given the fact that we give off electricity, or it's not electricity in a normal AC DC kind of format, but it's still a plasmic form of energy from our own body's plasma, yeah, and so on and so forth. Effectively, you can work from, say, let's say 2 volts through to 12 volts. Remember, it's very rudimentary, it's a very basic way of actually putting it. But let's say 2 volts is general self-awareness. Yeah. 4 volts is awareness of others. 6 volts is awareness to the point of sympathy. So you're able to sympathize with other people. You're now beginning to connect with people. 8 volts is awareness, but you're actually moving towards being sympathetic, but you're more apt at it. You're more emotionally apt. Yeah. Now then, 10 volts, again, is about engagement, support and engagement. So your empathy. So you're now becoming connected. And 12 volts, everything else. So you're becoming a telepath, but you're more emotionally invested. So the more power you give out, or the more you invest, so it's more like a cyclic motion. And the more you invest, the more you learn. The more you invest and learn to understand, and invest and then connect with people, and invest again to understand that whole cycle, the more energy you begin to create. Yeah? And then that, if it's not just a pushing force, what it is, it's actually that kind of like pushing force, but you're doing that and then bringing it back. So you're actually learning to connect with other people and understand exactly how they're actually feeling. Yeah? Basic? Yes, absolutely. Suitable? It's up to you to decide. The point of all of this is to try and help you gain a better handle on other people. Yourself, first off, existentially, the essence of yourself, and the general idea of the psychology that happens between you, or rather within you, and then within another, and then between you. So it's taking 2 existences and the essence of them 2 people, and then bringing them together. Not necessarily connecting them as in literally connected, but kind of like just that, existing within the same space, connecting, and then just moving around and connecting with other people. Yeah. So it makes you feel a part of something, and that is what that is about. Feeling a part of. Yeah. Again, meaning, connecting with other people, whatever you define or you place on life in itself. Now, I mentioned something about telekinesis. It's all and nothing at the end of the day. Attitude, behaviour, and so on and so forth. It's about the actual physical bodies being able. Let's say, right, those are the points effective and more responsible. So telekinesis is more about trust within one's own mind and connectivity with nature and understanding nature and trust being given back within nature. Right. So there are many little aspects of it. If you have no interest in the origins of how you reach the stage of telekinesis, then naturally speaking what will happen is you will end up venturing down one path or the other. It's kind of like an X-Men type thing, you know what I mean? And it is within human capability. And that is part and parcel of learning the origins of how that actually comes about within human existence. Yeah, learn about the essence within all human existence. Yeah? The essence within all life, in the terms of animals and environments. Yeah. The two paths is definable by good and evil, and heaven and hell, right and wrong, left and right, the opposites. Understanding and investing time into learn origins will, generally speaking, send you down one path, in the terms of, let's just call it the good side of things, leading to heaven, understanding what is right and what is wrong, and doing the right thing. And then not understanding the origins and taking it for granted, right? And then I'm all omnipotent and powerful, or you know that type of thing. That'll send you down the evil path, or hell, or bad. You understand the right and wrongs, but you've chosen that path. Yeah, those things. You get it, don't you? The upshot of it all is that telekinesis is, in general terms of speaking, is taking the energy side of things to a whole new level. It's kind of taking it to a whole new level, but not utilizing it for a sense of connectivity with other individuals. Yeah. Again, it's attitude and behavior. We go right back to the beginning of the conversation of existence, or existentialism, and the talk about and the referencing towards disorientation, confusion, dread, and attitude. Yeah, that type of attitudinal side of things. Something's happened within your life. You have a lot of energy. You have a lot of passion for something. Something shunted you. That energy starts collecting inside, and you start to find a way of letting it out. But it's not towards people. It's towards material objects. Your body understands what's going on, assuming that we don't know what the origins are. And you have this ability to be able to utilize your body's energy and manipulate, shall we say, metals. So turn them on another metal point. So what you've actually got is a magnetic object, and utilizing your body's own magnetic field, shall we call it, energy to turn the spoon or bend the spoon. 9 times out of 10 you'll find that most people will do it with metals because it's more receptive to the body's energy. I was saying before, it's some people have been proven to be able to actually affect water on a very minor level. Yeah. So telekinesis is basically more about a physical aspect of the evolutionary path, whereas the prior 3 is more of a psychological development. Yeah, so attitude and behavior. It is more about your ability to be able to utilize your body in different ways. One hour and 20 minutes. I've half the time of the last video. I've tried to give you as much information as possible. Existentialism, or essence. Ultimately, when you're looking at positives, the idea is to work with the negatives, such as reduction in gender and racial inequalities. Yeah, a reduction in physical and now psychological assaults, abuse, or however. Reduction in homelessness and poverty. Yeah, reduction in limitations in opportunities. Can you see how all of this is progressively piecing itself together? Everything that we've spoken about over the years, about whether it's this, we should do this, well, how do you treat homelessness, and so on and so on and so on and so forth. When you start looking at the bigger picture and you're breaking its components down, you can see why it's important to people. Yeah, because it's part of the essence of who you are, of who we are. Yeah. Forget about political alignments. It is just simply who you are. It is what you do. Yeah? How do you think we've managed to get as far as we have? Yeah. So there's a lot to it. Right, the video in itself, or this video, is all aimed or otherwise surrounds clearing up your perception. And that is ultimately what's been going on, isn't it, really? Is clearing up your perception and increasing value in both yourself and others. Yeah? You're worth more than what you give yourselves credit for. So are other people. They're worth more than what we give them. Yeah? Some people get lost along the way, and they need just that little bit of assistance because they've lost sight of whatever it is they've been trying to do. Yeah. Some of us may perceive to be that way, but you'll find that I'm thinking. No, we're just working a lot of stuff out to be able to help other people out. So putting ourselves in the best position possible to be able to deliver whatever it is we're going to deliver. Ultimately, I've actually kind of like created an acronym out of this, and I've called it ABS. So it's like banging on the brakes. But you bang on the brakes and just remember something: attitude, behavior, and sensory perceptions. Right? So you've got all your emotional intelligence in there and everything. Right? The idea is you're slamming on the brakes for a moment to think. Think first. You see it in the road safety advertisements or various other things, depending on where you are in the world. Right? Take the time to think. Yeah. Whether it's about a situation, whether it's about where you want to go, where people are, where people want to be, right? Where you are, where you want to go, and where you want to be. Yeah. Time. Think about it. Yeah. It's also, just to finish off, relevant to when we talk about the universal basic income or basic income. Thinking, working stuff out, testing it. Assist you from the beginning. If you're on the side where you're going to initiate the project, inform people of your intentions of that project so it doesn't build their hopes up too much. Evaluate the situation, not necessarily by numbers per se, granted, because there's people on the other end. But that's that side of it all. The other side of it all is looking at, and this is for those who are all UB supporters, I'm not saying I'm not. I think it's a great idea. Just think it might be a bit too soon. When looking at the UB, you're looking also at economic life cycles. Yeah. Are there actually improvements within them economic life cycles? Are there improvements in people's lives? Yeah. Actually improving people's lives. When we're talking about life cycles versus the improvement of lives, our businesses begin to stabilize because people have more money in the pocket to pay for it. Right? Are people actually doing what they say they're going to be doing when they've got that extra money in the pocket? Yeah? Is it improving their quality of life? Does it improve purchases? Does it reduce debts? Or is it reducing debts? Is it increasing profits, or rather business stabilities? See, these are all the measures that need to be taken. So it's not I'm against such ideas. It's all about understanding what happens when it's done. Right? Because as for much as we like to build ourselves up saying, oh, it's great, we have this money, we don't have to depend on work, and we pursue what we want to pursue, not everybody thinks the same way, unfortunately. People will share your passion. It sounds great and they want to do it, but 9 times out of 10, they don't. Why? Well, they're being paid to do nothing. Why should they do anything? So it's no longer unconditional, is it? It becomes conditional. If people then start hoarding it, i.e. in the terms of people are beginning to invest it back into the economy so the economy stabilizes, how's that profit being worked out? Are people taking more from the pot? it improves their life. Of course it does. It's improved exponentially. Or is it being reinvested back into the business and society again? So in order to keep that actual cycle going, so the improvement and stability of the business, reducing debt within both the society, so therefore they've got more disposable income, and so on and so on and so on. Remember, we can do this so we can break all this down. But without initiating these tests, you will never know. Yeah? It all sounds like a great idea, but without knowing and understanding the impacts of it, it's no more than just a good idea. Yeah? So this is why, think first. Yeah? It's not an attack, it's just making you aware of the finer details. I'm showing you the devil within all of the details. Yeah? Why these things happen the way they do. Right? Looking at the absurdities, and so on and so forth. Yeah? Well, good. I can hear a dog barking. Yeah, that'll be my dog. His name's Alfie. Yes. And he pulls like a train. When taking him out for a walk, of course. But there you go. That is existentialism. Existentialism. Existence. Essence of that existence. Yeah. I hope you found it useful. Remember, when you're looking at all of this, right? Meaning of life, or meaning of your life, it's whatever you place on it. What do you want to place on it? Think about it. Right? Put yourself in a position to know and understand what is going on around you. How do you act and react? Right? Don't be frightened of getting involved. Be confident. Commit yourself to something that you want to do. Yeah? Follow through with it. Yeah? Keep an eye on the ball or the plan. Look ahead. It's like learning to drive a car or push bike. Yeah? Push bike, learning to drive a car, an aeroplane or whatever. Here and now. What's going on ahead? Because you need to get here and now to there. Yeah? It's not about just here and now. Right? If you're in here and now, then you're just here and now. You're just living in that particular moment. And whilst it may have a nice, comfortable feeling, you begin to wonder why here and now is just, well, here. Yeah? If it's not rewarding you in any way or making you feel better about yourself, then it's counterproductive, isn't it? Yeah? So, here and now, but there and then. From there to there. Yeah? So it's the whole planning cycle. That then creates meaning for yourself. It helps you become better at what you want to do. As I've always maintained throughout, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody. I'm just saying I'm good at what I do. Yeah? Now, that I would say to you is the same. That is the healthy side of self-love or self-confidence, self-awareness. Competition is a good thing within the economy when you're competing for business and everything, but within inside the essence of who you are and in terms of your existence, yeah, you're good at what you do. Yeah? Be good at what you do. Become good at what you do. Yeah? Don't worry about competing with other people, not unless that's what you intend on doing. But at the same token, being good at what you do and keep pushing yourself will naturally, in a competitive state, put you above and ahead of everybody else, or ahead of the curve, as some people would call it. Yeah? Knowing and understanding, being aware of what's going on around you. Yeah? There you go. Ode to the secret. Right, I'm going to leave you at that. An hour and a half there for you. It's half of the last one. I've not tried to make it too simple, but I've not tried to overcomplicate it for you. We will do a whole written version on the whole 9 yards. I won't worry about series 1, 2 and 3. Let's cut to the chase come March 2019 when all of this comes to an end, because it was March 2009 when all of this started. So as a close shut down, come that period of time, I will just simply cut to the chase and just put everything in paperback, PDF, hardback, whatever. If somebody's interested and it pays enough, then it'll go into hardback. So it's always something that you can put on the shelf. Right, on that note, have a good day, and I will be back again soon.